All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we adjourn from our work session. We will now call to order the Pleasant Grove City Council meeting of Tuesday, October the 2nd, 2018. And I welcome the council. Everyone's attending here except we excuse Sid Lamone this evening, and she is out of town. And but we do have a quorum, and we are grateful for the staff that are joined us here this evening, and also for our patrons of our city that have come to join with us this evening. So we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by our director, Sherry, will lead us in that, after which Marty Belmont will have opening remarks.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful that we could be here this evening, meeting at this City Council meeting. We're grateful for this great city that we live in and enjoy, and for the many blessings that we have here along the Wasatch Front. We're so grateful for all that we have been blessed with the guidance and direction we receive, and ask Thy Spirit to be with us as we discuss matters of this city, that we can be able to make decisions that will be helpful and useful for the residents of this city. We're so grateful for all the blessings that we have, for the moisture that we're currently receiving, and ask you to continue to bless us with moisture so we can be able to provide for the needs of those here in the city. And we're so grateful again for all that we have, and ask for thy blessings at this time in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Marty and Sherry. We appreciate that. Our first item on our is item 4, approval of the meeting's agenda. And do we have any amendments to that? Scott?
There's no changes other than item 9B. We will need to continue to October 16th.
That B as in boy?
B as in boy, at request of the applicant. And then item 9C is already noted as being continued to October 16th.
Okay, with that, I would like a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. I'll let Diana have it.
Diana has a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. With that, we'll now move into our agenda item 5, open session. Anyone who would like to come forward and address the council at this time, we'll give you 3 minutes.
I'm with the Independent Hot Dogs. It's time for our yearly treats in the park. We take over the park. Right over here, even with the construction. I've been working with Scott on for the fire truck. This year, I'm sad to say, our Captain Jack Sparrow has retired. And the company that buys ships wants $4,500 to come out for those 2 hours. We're nonprofit. We can't do it. The flyers have been given out to local businesses up and down State Street. I will send one over to Kathy via email, and she will send it out in the Pleasant Grove newsletter for us. We are expecting a good turnout. We have Miss Utah and Miss Pleasant Grove will also be in attendance. We are working to have Jack Skeleton and Sally on hand from Rock Canyon Bank this year. And we invite every business to come out. It's a great way to advertise your business. I know the city council comes out every year. We have the police department, the fire department. They're all out in force. Bring your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, if it's not far down the road. But we encourage everyone to come out. It's a great time. It's Halloween from 3 to 5. It's been the same thing for 15 years, and here comes number 16. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mayor and Council, my name is Ben Stanley from beautiful Pleasant Grove, the Strawberry City. It's good to see you. One of the things that I've been doing this summer, earlier in the summer, the Utah County Commission nominated me to serve on the Utah Transit Authority's Board of Trustees. And so I've been visiting with mayors and councils around Utah County and Tooele County to answer any questions people have about transit issues, to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 136, which reorganized the governance of our Utah Transit Authority. We have a few bus routes here in Pleasant Grove. My daughter rides one of them every school day morning to go to UVU because she attends high school at what's called the Utah County Academy of Sciences. So early in my legal career, I had chances to work with a lot of transportation clients and even be involved in the turnaround of United Airlines when they were in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, losing a couple $2 billion a year. And that kind of experience, I think, appealed to our county commissioners. But there have been some questions. I've been told by the governor's office that there's been a little bit of pushback, some people attacking the county and attacking the nominees. And so I've promised them and friends at the UTA who are hopeful that I'll receive this appointment that I will do what I've been affectionately referring to as a consensus tour. So I've been going around meeting with mayors and councils in our county and in Tooele County and answering questions, like I said, and just encouraging people to get involved and be aware of how important it is to have good leadership, experienced leadership, qualified people involved in the Utah Transit Authority. And if there's anyone here amongst many of my old dear friends and the members of the public or on the council and mayor that would like to help out with this effort, there's a lot of ways to get involved. It could be a great thing for Pleasant Grove, and I'm excited to be able to serve, honored by that nomination, and hopeful that there's a resolution soon to what's becoming potentially a standoff between our governor and some of our senators and some of our county commissioners. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer any, but otherwise it's thrilling to see you again.
Do you have contact information if people want to contact you? You want to put that out there?
I do, yeah. If anyone wants to reach out to me, my office number is 801-854-7268. And you can reach me also by email at ben.stanley.esq@gmail.com or find me online at Tech Law Ventures. And I'd be happy to get support and answer questions, talk about transit with anyone that's interested in those issues. They're important. It's, you know, there's a lot at stake, the inland port, the Olympic Games. There's a lot of really important things, reasons why we need good qualified leadership and good trustees that can be helpful in restoring some of the public trust that's been lost by our Utah Transit Authority. So yeah, I'd love to help out with that. If anybody wants to reach out, feel free. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Mayor and City Council, my name is Julie Carr, and I'm the newly elected president of the Board of Directors for the Pleasant Grove Players, our local community theater. And first, let me say I'm not experienced in attending the City Council meetings or presenting before the City Council, and I very much appreciated the pledge and the prayer that began this meeting, so thank you. I'm here tonight after having communication with Sherry, our library director and leader of the Arts Council, about getting some signage on the side of the building where the new pergola has gone in on the lower part of the library, the lower entrance there. We are not visible now as a theater on that side of the building. And there's really no signage designating the theater as the community theater. I've enlisted the help of Black Canyon Signs, Joe Goff, who has worked with the city many times in the past, with Dion Giles, and he has graciously drawn up some samples, which I would like to show you.
Bite it.
Yeah, that was mine as well with the. Would like to do color. This was just the graphic that he laid out. Being unfamiliar with the processes, I'd like to see what I need to do going forward to get permits or possible funding from the city to support the community theater. If I could get some guidance in that direction,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
So I'll talk with you in a minute and get your contact information, and we'll run you through the process on the city staff level.
Fantastic.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
We can
Thank
get
you.
that figured out. So.
Okay, fantastic.
Why don't you just, sorry.
Well,
I can leave that.
maybe let me just see that. I like Pleasant Grove, but, even you filled up that whole space between the windows. Pleasant Grove Players being a little bigger.
Has a valid point with recognizing over the theater.
Over the theater.
Why don't you tell the public about Lucky Stiff that's coming up?
Oh, yes. Lucky Stiff starts October 19th. A lot of energy. You are a producer. Get your tickets early. Every performance. So
And it was wonderful.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is going to be every bit. But for now, we love a sign.
Well, I speak for myself, but I think I speak for a lot of the council. We support you, and we want something special out of that PG Players, and it was a phenomenal show. I'm looking forward to go to Lucky Stiff and the rest of the shows in the future. So,
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward at this time and address the council? If not, we'll close our open session and we'll move on to agenda item number 6.
The guys in the back, do they want to come sit down?
Yeah, there's some room up here in the front. There we go.
If that's okay.
Okay. You're good.
This isn't a 1 minute, all minute kind of a thing.
yeah, come sit down, boys.
See, look.
We'll only be here till 11 o'clock tonight, guys.
And once you sit down, you're committed. Uh-oh.
You can pull one chair back there with you there so you're all together. So we'll move to item 6, our consent items. I'd like a motion to approve our consent items as listed in our.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve our one item on the consent items. So
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move on to our item number 7, Board Commission Committee appointments. This evening, we have one appointment to make. Scott was going to do that, but please come forward. I'll do this and introduce you. Tonight we have with us Karen Lindquist, who has agreed and been appointed to serve on our Arts Commission as a member. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little more about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Karen Lundquist. I've lived in Pleasant Grove up the hill for about 3 years now, and I'm looking to serve on the Arts Commission and in all kinds of areas, wherever is needed, and mostly Strawberry Days Festival. And yeah, I'm excited for the opportunity.
You want to tell us how long you've been a member of our community and
yeah, so
and about where you live in our community?
Sure. So I've lived here about 3 years, and I just live east up the hill from Valley View Elementary, where my daughter goes to school, and she's my oldest, so I've got 3 little ones, and yeah.
Great
So
school.
good. Well, thank you.
Yeah, Thank you.
So I'd ask for a motion to approve.
Mayor, I make a motion for the approval of the appointment of Karen Lundquist as an Arts Commission member.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Looks like it's a done deal. So thank you, and thank you again for
Congrats and thank you.
coming forward. Item number 8, we do not have any presentations this evening. Move to item 9, which is our public hearing.
Daniel's super excited. Here we go.
You've already cut half your workload out tonight, Daniel, so let's make this good.
2/3
okay?
of the workload.
Not that we're measuring at all.
Mayor, Council, it's been quite some time since the last time I had the opportunity to present to you guys. During that time, many things have happened, and one of those things is that we, Community Development Department, we lost our dear friend Linda Hales. She was the first contact I ever had with Pleasant Grove. She called me when I had my interview when I applied to be a planner, and then she called me, and that's the first contact I had with her. So with the city was with her. So I just want to say that Linda Hales will be forever missed, and she will be always in our hearts. Now, having said that, let's start this presentation, Mayor and Council, with a couple of images that we are all very well acquainted with. This is the area that we know as the Grove. This is an aerial view. And as I was looking at this map, I realized that we need to get a newer map, because that's a lot of the new cool developments are not there. I mean, we don't have Evermore and the Void, and I will come out work on a new layer to use for our presentations. But the boundaries, they're still the same. So that's what we know as the Grove. The Grove is the Grove District. We have 3 different sub-districts. Right here we have the Interchange Sub-District. This salmon color right here, that's the Commercial Cell Sub-District. And then we have the Mixed Housing Sub-District. This is kind of like salmon too, huh? But this kind of like this different color, that's for the residential areas. In that zone, in that district, in the whole area, we have created overlays, a couple of them. doTERRA is sitting in an overlay. Just recently, which is not reflected in this map, we just created another overlay right here, right? Kind of like a mixed-use overlay. So lately, the staff have entertained some discussions with some applicants that are trying to either come up with residential uses where residential is not allowed at this moment, or to increase the density of residential where residential is allowed. So what we have used, or what we have discussed in the near past, is that we kind of like we've been negotiating some sort of like, in order to spur some economic development. Fine, let's open the discussion about density, but let's also open the discussion about retail. How about we do some trade right there? And that's a mechanism, a tool that we've been using lately. Something similar happened to this area, and something similar is what is being proposed right now. So these areas right here, these sub-districts, these work kind of like the base layer. There's a lot of requirements, rules that apply for this. And then when we do an overlay, again, an overlay is a mechanism for rezone. We come up with a new layer on top of it with new rules, with new regulations. Maybe we loosen up some regulations, or we add up some extra regulations. Okay, so that's, again, to apply an overlay is the same as a rezone. It's just a mechanism of a rezone. Okay, let me see. So what we have today is an application from McKay Christensen. What he's proposing is to create a new overlay zone. A new overlay zone that will allow to have some residential in this area right here, in this sub-district, the Commercial Cell Sub-District. The Commercial Cell Sub-District at this point does not allow for residential. Okay? What the applicant is proposing, again, is an overlay, a rezone, some new rules that will allow for that residential in exchange of some retail. So again, this area right here, this color, does not allow at this point residential, but also does not require retail or sales tax generating uses. Pretty much, if you want to go offices it is. We do not require a certain percentage of those businesses that are coming into the city to create some sales tax. We don't do that. So again, what the applicant is proposing pretty much is saying, I'll exchange some residential for some retail uses to brought up to that area. Okay, that's what the overlay is proposing. It's going to be one of my presentations if this didn't happen to me. 1 second. Let's see if I can bring it up. Right there. Give me one tiny little second. There we go. So far so good. Let's see. Right here. Okay, so this overlay, this proposal already came to the city council some meetings ago, a couple of months ago, and it looks like we already discussed this, and there were some concerns that the city council had. There were also some concerns that the planning commission had. So staff have been working with the applicant, staffing, creating, drafting a new overlay, so new language that will allow for the applicant, for his proposal to happen, but also that the city will gain certain benefits out of it. Let me see. Some of the discussions that we had before is the applicability. Where is this overlay going to happen? So the answer to that is, so the overlay has some, or the language in the ordinance has some geographical constraints that says that this overlay can only be fronting the boulevard from this area to that area right there. So we have certain very specific rules, constraints, where this place can be located, okay? Now, this is important to mention that when we were working, or when we work on drafting some overlays, a lot of compromises need to happen. The applicant sometimes is here, the city is here, we need to meet in the middle, or the city is here, the applicant is here, and we try to come to an agreement. In this case, this draft that is presented to the council today, to the mayor and the council, I'm glad to say this, but the applicant, the staff, and planning commission, we're in tune. Finally, we got to an agreement. That's what is presented to you guys. Okay. Also, we were talking about the uses. So what uses will be permitted under this overlay? Okay. The uses that will be permitted here will be all of the uses that we allowed in the commercial sales plus high density. Okay. High density. That's the use, the use that we are adding to it. It's high density. Now, with that, we're also going to make some requirements on the minimum of retail uses that the applicant needs to provide for this overlay to happen. Okay, and we'll get to that a little later. Okay, we also talk about the setbacks. The setbacks, we came to a compromise again. Well, I'm going to show you exactly what they are, but they're not far from what we apply at the growth zone right now. In regards to open space, the requirements right now are 30% for commercial, 10% for residential. What we did in this overlay, we went to 20 overall. So I think it was a good compromise. In regards to parking, this discussion has happened here before, but what the situation is that staff always had a number, and the applicant met the number. So staff didn't, what's in the ordinance is not a decrease. At no point there's a decrease on the requirements in regards to parking of what the staff required from the beginning. So the applicant is meeting those requirements. And building height. Building height right now in that zone, it's allowed up to 100 feet with a conditional use permit. Okay? So pretty much what we're saying is if you meet some nice architectural standards, you can go to 100 feet. It's a given. So what we work on this overlay, we reduce that to 75 feet, maximum height. Now that is for commercial buildings and for residential buildings, but we were able to cap it at 75. Here's a couple of important items on this ordinance that I think they're worth to take note. So the density, what will be the proposed density? At the beginning, the applicant was proposing, I think, a density of 25, and we've been working and discussing with this. What the applicant is proposing right now is 23 units per acre, and I guess that's also a number that came out of a work session that the applicant had with the council. In regards to parking ratios, the parking ratios for commercial uses are exactly the same, so they didn't change. And the parking ratios for the residential, what the code says right now is that for every residential unit, it's 2 stalls per unit, 2 stalls per unit. But it doesn't make the difference if it's an apartment complex with 4, we're still only going to require 2. If it's 1, we're still going to require 2. So, but we're saying right now, we're making a difference. We're saying if it's a 1-bedroom, oh my, that's missing an M right there. If it's a 1-bedroom apartment, okay, and the applicant is going to manage that at the time that when he rents out those apartments, only 1 person can occupy those, we will require 1.75 stalls, meaning that out of 4 single-bedroom apartments, 3 people can have 2 cars. 1 will have to get only 1. That's good. I think that's a good ratio. So that's the ratio that the staff proposed from the beginning. The applicant, it was difficult, but then he met that requirement, and he's there right now. Okay. For any other,
It was difficult. Is that
no, it was the concept was difficult for the applicant. He's gonna explain to you guys why. Is because he's gonna come up with a. I didn't mean it that way. Sorry. He's going to come up with a parking structure, and in a parking structure, every stall costs a lot of money, and he's going to explain to you guys. So, but again, we set up a standard. Staff set up a standard, and applicant met that standard. In regards to the setbacks, we're going to require 22-foot setback along the boulevard. So right now, for the boulevard, everything along the boulevard will require 25 or 30. And in some cases, we've been able to reduce that by 5 feet, depending on the landscape that the applicant is proposing. But in this case, we're set it at 22. It's no big difference from there. Now, what we're changing is on the setbacks, it's on the interior setbacks. As we remember, when we talk about this property, 220 kind of like goes through the middle of this property. So we reduced the setback right there, but it was a compromise the staff did with the applicant. But again, when someone is driving through the boulevard, okay, there's not going to be any change or any difference on the setbacks.
It's just the interior building to, got it.
Correct. This setback is going to be from the interior road that goes through it, and this other one is going to be for Proctor Lane, or I think it's the 1300 West. I think that's what it is. Yeah. So it depends on the type of the category of the road, is the setback that we're going to apply to that project. And this is the part that brings a smile to me. So for a project that is from 10 to 12 acres, we're going to require at least 25,000 square feet of retail. Those numbers are very comparable to the numbers that we require in the interchange subdistrict. So they're almost at the same level. Okay. So again, so the way we did it is for a project that is up to 12 acres, we will need 25. And there we have some classifications. As soon as the acreage goes up, then the requirements for retail goes up as well. Okay. And open space for a project will be 20%. Let me see what I have next. Okay, so in reality, this overlay is creating for a piece of land, a property that is kind of like a funky shape. And that was one of the constraints that we had to work with. Okay, we're trying to figure out how that piece of land can be developed. And it will be applied to something like that. Like I said, eventually, if the applicant purchases a little bit of land right here or somewhere else, I don't know, numbers go up as well in regards to retail. Okay? Okay. Let me see one more image. Okay. At this time, we're not proposing a site plan. We're proposing a new overlay, a new code, a new language, new rules that will be applied to any given project. But that's kind of like an idea of what the applicant may have, kind of like something like that, okay? Again, I didn't come up with numbers of exactly how many residential units the applicant is going to have, because that varies on the acreage that the applicant has. And yeah, so something interesting is, as I was reading the general plan, this general plan allows, if we can see this, for these areas right here, or what we call the, let me see, the North District, we allow for some mixed uses to come up to. So when we wrote this general plan, we say, hey, everything in this area, we're open to discussion for some mixed uses. Because the area we're talking about, again, is right here. And we encourage compact, pedestrian-friendly mixed land use developments. So that's written, I guess, like 6 or 7 years ago. So it's part of our vision, doesn't deviate that much. So that's what we have. This item went to Planning Commission, last Thursday, and this item also went to Planning Commission multiple times, but the last time was the last Thursday. Planning Commission recommend unanimously approval of this creation of this new overlay zone. During that meeting, we had some neighbors come, and we have some neighbors coming through the multiple meetings and asking some questions, and we're trying to answer those questions. Some of the concerns they have, for example, it's let me see if I can go back to this. It's well, I already live here and I already have some animal rights. Are they going to be able to take away my animal rights? No way. There's no way they can take away their animal rights. Actually, one mechanism that we have used before is when a new development comes, the new development that comes to a place where we have animal rights nearby, on the new development, we kind of put a note on the plat that says, hey, there's some kind of like a warning, like there's a farm or something like that next by. Another concern they had was about the height of the building, and we tried to express what's reflected in the ordinance, that right now they can go up to 100 feet. We cap it at 75 feet. Okay, that's what I have, Mayor, Council.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. We recognize the work. You're in between the applicant and the city council, and we totally recognize that. So, nice work.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor. Some part of it, yes.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Daniel.
That's exactly what I was doing last council meeting. Yeah.
Before we open up for our public hearing on this item, McKay, would you like to come forward and add anything or rebuttal anything that's been...
Maybe the part about the applicant being difficult. Yeah, that's about the only thing that I... No, I'm sure that I have been. That's right. I need a week, right? So, yeah, I mean, basically, we've worked on this for a long time and have really tried to do what is in the best interest of ourselves, of course, but in the best interest of the city and creating and generating a plan that works for everybody. And so, you know, through this iterative process, we've obviously had a lot of back and forth with Christine and with Daniel, and they've done, I think, a wonderful job of drafting something that is, every one of these things, there's always probably difficult pills to swallow on either side. We certainly have some on our side, but the last meeting that we had with the council, the clear direction that we got was going from 26 down to 23, having the parking be at 1.75 and 2, and then figuring out some mechanism whereby you guys could be assured that we're going to have retail. And the way that they've drafted it, I think it has all of those components in it. By way of information since then, so anyway, to sum up, I think that the text amendment has everything in there that the council directed us to do over the last, I think it's maybe been almost 2 months now. We've been working on it for a long time.
We were getting nervous.
I've got 4 letters of intent that I can have you take a look at if you want to, but so far, and they're non-binding until we get obviously through this process. But in retail, in this retail pad 2, it's about 5,000 square feet. We plan on splitting it in half. Half of it is going to be Pizzeria 712. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a
love it.
What do you say? What did you say, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, it's a good. I'm sorry. Yeah, kind of, huh?
Different, more custom.
Yeah, it's good.
Gourmet.
Yeah, everything in a wood-fired oven, and then
Fired oven.
the other half is Black Sheep, and then on this corner.
Tacos are incredible.
Yeah, they've got good. I like their burgers actually. And then over here, you can see in the last page of each one of those letters of intent. Over here, we have Blue Poblano, which will be a new concept, kind of like Taqueria 27, same type of thing. And then Rockwell Ice Cream. So, so those are the yeah. Those are the four that we have right now, and those are just based off of the personal relationships we have with the owners of those restaurants, and so we anticipate that we can get more. So as we continue.
Okay, thank you. I mean, thank you for working with us and going back and forth. It just shows that collaboration can work and we can get this done. And so, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You want these back?
We have to share down here.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. We'll get them back to you. We know. Well, let's see. It's been a long time coming, and this is what we have been aiming for, is in a good mixed use type thing. And you've brought us good news this evening. We just hope it'll work for you, and it continues on. So with that, I would like to open our public hearing to consider an ordinance 2018-22, amending Chapter 14, the Grove Zoning District, to create an overlay zone that provides for flexibility in creating master plan communities that incorporate commercial, office, mixed-use buildings, as well as a variety of housing options on Sam White's neighborhood. So with that, I would like to open our public hearing and give any of those who would like to come forward 3 minutes each to address the council with their thoughts or concerns. Please come forward.
I'm Bruce Goodwin, lived on 107 South, 1300 West. And I got a question right there. Is that a road that goes between them homes? And actually there's 3 homes in there. You can't put 3 homes in 90 feet.
Right there?
Yeah, on the end, right there. You can't put, I can't understand how you get 3 homes in 90 feet, because I know it's 90 feet across. And that road, there's a road in there now, but these homes is pushed up to that road, and it had to be an access on the back in the north of my property. I don't know how you get a road in there for 90 feet, so that's my question. And these homes, I don't understand it. How can they put all these homes in?
Those 3 right there.
Yeah, tonight we're not, I mean, this isn't site plan approval. So the applicant's going to have to meet all of the requirements, and if he can't fit 3 homes there, he's not going to get 3 homes there. So this is a concept plan right now, and when he brings back his site plan and there's issues with that, then I think that'd be the appropriate time. But you're just seeing a concept.
I just got it. That's my question. I just wondered what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's
which I know that the footage across it and down and everything, and I just wondered how they're going to do this.
Yeah, that's the next step in the process.
Okay.
It would be site plan.
Okay, thank you.
Another question, do they have to, if you guys accept that, if they put homes in there, do they come up to you and get approval on this stuff?
It goes to the Planning Commission is the first place it goes to, and then they work it out with the developer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just so everybody understands, what the council's, if they approve tonight, is just the language that allows them to do this type of project. In 2 weeks, you'll be in front of the council to apply it to the zone. That will be the next step. Then after that, a site plan will be submitted. And then our engineering staff, our community development staff, they take a look at the requirements of the zone and see if the site plan meets all of that. If the site plan doesn't meet it, then it never gets in front of the Planning Commission or the City Council until it does meet it. then the planning commission has to give approval and the city council has to give approval.
I got another question. So I heard down the line that they was going to put a 6-7-story building up in that area for housing.
Well, so the height requirement is 75 feet according to what the zone says. If they go up to 75, that's going to be up to the developer. They have that ability to do that per the zone, but that's as high as they're going to go. So whether that's 5, 6, 7 stories, whatever 75 feet is, that's as high as the zone's going to allow them to go.
Okay, you guys will figure that out.
Yep, that will all be through the site plan process. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a curiosity question. How does that 75 feet compare to the nearby buildings like Oil Life and doTERRA?
I don't know how tall.
75 feet is what, five floors?
So when I was measuring, I measured. That's how high the tower is. Tower is about 100.
Oh, the Grove Tower out on the freeway.
Okay. Anyone else like to come forward?
Hello, Craig Uzon. I live right across the street from this part of the farm.
Across which street?
On the farm on Proctor Lane.
Oh, okay.
Right across the street.
All right.
He's on Proctor land.
Yeah.
Yes. It's been a little bit. Yeah.
Married to Proctor.
Yeah.
Married one.
Okay. So, so this is going to be, what we're discussing is to add residential to a commercial district. So, a lot of times I get complaints from residential people who, you know, they either want to give their opinion of how to raise an animal, and they've never done so before in their life, and
they don't like the smell of an animal.
And they don't like the smell of anything that is, you know, not restaurant quality or anything like that. Also, as an interesting note, if one of those comes in as a black sheep, I have a black sheep who's nervous now.
And fried cow.
Yeah.
The cows are scared.
Yeah. So my concern is not the removal of animal rights, because nobody can do that, because we already have an animal rights. It's the complaints that come, you know, and how do I just avoid that? Because I know that there will be a lot of people, and there's, you know, in the 70s or whatever you call them, yuppies, now there's millennials, you know, and they just go, oh, how cute, you know, but I'm concerned about how you're raising them, or, you know, or the noise, you know, they're bellowing at night, etc. How do I just not have complaints at me? Because there's going to be a lot of people now, and they're all youth or young. It's designed for youth, from what I understand.
So we put up a big sign that says, "We were here first."
You're zoned for it. You're good to go. You're good.
Yeah.
Tina can address this.
Well, what I was going to say is one of the ways that you can combat it. We can't guarantee you're not going to get people to complain, but one of the ways we can combat the problem is by putting the note on the plat, so that theoretically anybody who buys in that subdivision or that development knows that there are farm animals nearby, and they can't say they didn't know.
Right, and they're not going to call the police, you know, so we have knock on the door.
Well, I mean, they might. There's no way for us to protect against that, but legally your rights are protected if you have the animal rights and your zone hasn't changed, right?
Yep.
And so if they do knock on your door and say, hey, your animals are making too much noise, you're not going to get a ticket because you were there first, you have animal rights, and they had notice.
Maybe McKay can put a notice in the lease, right? Just kidding.
But Craig, you can complain if the apartments start making too much noise.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Also, maybe too early for this, but will there be like red lane markings or anything on Proctor Lane, or is that necessary?
You mean
For
the parking along there?
Yeah, no parking.
I don't know, Marty, do you want to?
13th West will not have parking allowed, so there will not be any parking on 13th West.
So there's no need for red lane or anything like that?
Correct. If you remember, and we've been working with you on trying to get 1300 West reconstructed from Pleasant Grove Boulevard up to First South. We've also been working with the Goodwins on doing that, hopefully this next spring. That section is only 43 feet of pavement, which allows for a travel lane in each direction, north and south, and a center lane. The shoulder is only going to be, I think it's like 5 foot wide on each side, which wouldn't allow for parking without really extending clear out into the lane. So,
okay, the reason why it is a concern for me right now is because whenever doTERRA has their big events, there's parking along there.
it will be striped, so it won't be allowed there.
Okay, great. That's all I have right now.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Anyone else? Would you please come forward? If not, I'll open the public hearing closed, and we'll bring it back up here to the council. And if any other discussion from the council? If not, looks like we're maybe?
Just 3 minutes. You know, this property in this area is so valuable for revenue for our city, and because of this kind of the strange piece of property, I just want to thank McKay and Daniel. This has been a lot of work to get 4, 5, 6 restaurants. I don't know what your cap is on that, but 25,000 square feet of commercial space, just phenomenal. Couldn't be more proud of the city and the city employees. And McKay, thanks for working with us. I mean, this is going to be huge for the city and give us great restaurants. It's going to give us revenue for the city. Just thanks.
Well, and the other thing is we heard last council meeting when we had them come and, our work session, I guess it was, when talk about the housing crisis that we're entering, where we are not making enough affordable or enough housing for all those who want to live in Utah County or stay here, who were reared here. So anyway, that's the other component of this, which meshes into the north there of us there, plus finishes off out there on Pleasant Grove Boulevard.
Really makes it nice.
Anyway.
I'm looking forward to the site plan.
Any other?
Just on some more on that. I actually went to a chamber summit event at Sundance, and by the way, Utah County has the lowest unemployment rate in the nation. We also they've discovered that a large portion of those coming in to fill the jobs are migrant, meaning that they're coming from out of state. Right now in our county, we have, for every 10 jobs, we only have 2 places for them to live. So we're going to double, but I think this is a beautiful mix of, and I actually don't think the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom is high density. I see 1 and 2 people living in those, and so I really don't think of this as high density. I think of this as just places for people to live, and we've got to consider this. There's a building, a 100,000 square foot office complex that was built in Lehigh recently, and it was spec, and it's full, 100% occupied. So, I mean, it's shocking what's happening to our county right now.
Okay, thank you. With that, would like to say we will not take any action. It will be our next meeting on this overlay zone.
Well, so Mayor, and maybe I was a little confusing, but this is going to adopt the overlay and make it part of code, what we're doing tonight.
Oh, okay.
Applying it to the property is what we're going to do in 2 weeks.
So a motion needs to be made?
Yeah, so we do need to create the overlay. That's what we're doing tonight.
Oh, okay.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-23, amending City Code Section 1014, the Grove Zoning District by altering Section 1014-24-1.
Isn't he doing
22?
Doing A, 18,
oh,
22.
Sorry.
9A, we're 9A.
I want to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-22, amending Chapter 14, the Grove Zoning District, to create an overlay zone that provides for flexibility in creating master plan communities that incorporate commercial, office, and mixed-use buildings, as well as a variety of housing types.
Does that sound right, Daniel? Okay, I second that. Okay. Okay.
So we have a motion, we have a second, and this is a roll call vote. So we will go that page. So, Councilman Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Walker.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Pass unanimously with Sid not being here. So.
And I
that
would also
motion.
like to thank Kevin Santiago. Good friend.
Okay, with that, we thank you for that, and we'll now move, since we've continued items 9B and C, we'll move to our action items, which is to consider for adoption Resolution 2018-50, authorizing the Pleasant Grove City Parks and Recreation Department Director to submit application for a 2018 Utah County Commission Municipal Recreation Grant for improvements to be made to the parks and trail system, provided for an effective date.
Mayor and Council, I'm happy to be here. This is give you a little history on this. This grant application was due in May. We were going to move the money forward, if you remember right, to next year and put it with that grant application for the construction of Downtown Park and the improvements in that. I received notice from the county that that wasn't acceptable, and so I offered another extension or another letter to the county asking for an extension to the application process because we were beyond that date. There was some miscommunication between the county and us, and we received notice the other day that our extension for the submittal of our invoices, if we needed to go past October, was due this week. Or last week, sorry. So I emailed down, talked with the person in charge down there, and they allowed us to propose another application to apply for the 2018 grant. So we put our heads together real quick and proposed that we did 4 monument signs. The Veterans Park, Downtown Park, Mahogany Park, and then the Manila sign out on 2600 North where they removed the sign that was out there. The other thing we'd like to do with the funding is 2 bike stations, one at the the Murdoch Trail, and then one at Battle Creek Trailhead. And then at the Mahogany Park, we installed a volleyball court there when that was constructed, and it's had pretty much 0 use out of it.
Wait, where's it at?
Mahogany Park, so right behind Mahogany Elementary to the east.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So we're just behind that. We have property right there. And that's about probably 10 years old, maybe a little older than that. So we're proposing that we install a sports court. We'd have 2 basketball courts and paint it for pickleball. It wouldn't be necessarily one that we would, I mean, it'd just be a single little court. But anyway, that's what we'd like to do with this year's funding. And this is just a request to be able to apply for that. We'll know very shortly so that we can get that money turned around and the project's completed before winter. Next year we'll apply for the grant to go towards Downtown Park.
Awesome.
With that, I would like a motion for approval of a resolution, to vote on Resolution 2018-50.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for adoption of Resolution 2018-50, authorizing the Pleasant Grove City Parks and Recreation Department Director to submit an application for the 2018 Utah County Commission Municipal Recreation Grant for improvements to be made to the Parks and Trails System and providing for effective date.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. This will be another roll call vote. Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Walker.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you.
They kicked Dion out of here, but he did want to say thank you.
It was good seeing you, Dion.
Eric, you got a little VOG going with your voice tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll turn the time over to our
I just want to go
city
over
manager.
our agenda in a couple weeks, and before I do that, we had a site plan approval and a plat approval that we intended to have on the agenda tonight that we did not get scheduled. This is for Daniel Thomas down with St. John Properties. He has a business that wants to come in, and so we need site plan approval and the plat approval. Because it was our fault, we missed the noticing. I talked with Daniel today and suggested that maybe we could get a meeting for Thursday, so in 2 days at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock if we need to with work schedules. I think it would take us about 10 minutes, but we need at least 3 council members that can make that meeting, and mayor too. If you, I mean, you're not a voting member, but to be there would be just great. So with Thursday.
On Thursday?
Thursday at 5, or if that's problematic on your schedule, we could do Thursday at 6.
I can be there at 6. I can't be there at 5.
I can't be there at 6.
Oh.
Yeah, well, it will just be right here in this.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
I'll be there.
I don't, Sherry, do you have something here Thursday night? Okay.
So just do 5. If 5's probably easier. And just do it
In 2 days.
Yeah, Scott, you got your 3. Diana, Eric, and Lynn.
Okay, and
At 5.
Mayor, you can be
And
there?
I will not, I have MAG meeting Thursday night
Okay.
at 5.
So we'll have to designate one of them a pro tem to open the meeting if the mayor's not here, and then we can do that.
Not work at 6 at all? No, I can do 5. But
Got the MAG meeting that starts.
It
you could do 5.
starts at
Starts
6.
at 5:30 in Provo.
Do the 3 of you.
Okay.
At 5 on Thursday.
5.
And Tina's going to be out of town, right? You'll be gone. If she'll coach me up to make sure procedurally we take care of the pro tem, and Kathy will put together the agenda and notice it tomorrow. What's that? Okay, he can run the meeting. So we're 5 o'clock. We're okay then. Okay, will you put that in your calendars? I'll send out a reminder text early Thursday afternoon. We're going to meet here unless Sherry tells us that we can't. And if we can't, I'll let you know tomorrow what our venue is going to be. As far as in 2 weeks for our meeting, I believe you might have a draft agenda there. For our work session, Sherry, is the room open? Okay, thank you. Will you put us down for 5 to 5:30? We are going to have our fire department, those that were deployed to California for that fire a couple months ago, they were going to come and give us a report and talk about their experience out there. We also have
You add the South County Fire to that experience?
Yeah, that's probably good. Yeah, that'd be great.
And
Guys, yeah.
Okay.
Chief, how about some photos too? There were some great photos.
There are some good photos.
Good photos.
Drone pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll kick them up.
It's one great thing about the fire community. Even though these fires are happening in Payson and Elk Ridge and whatever, our guys are there helping, and it's just great because when the fire's going to be up our mountain someday, they're going to come and help us. So it's just great that there's those types of relationships. Strawberry Days committee would like to come, and they'll give a full, I believe, financial recap on Strawberry Days and do their yearly thing with us. They already came 6 weeks, maybe it was a couple months ago, to talk about you and give a little bit of a recap, but this is going to be now that they've kind of figured out all their books. So we will also have an update on the public safety building budget, and I'll have those numbers to go over with you, let you know where we're at on that with what's happening there. So that's our work session. For our meeting, we will have the application of the rezone, the application of the overlay that we just did with McKay. So that will be, and that will also be a public hearing.
That's a site plan?
No, this will be just the application.
of the
This is us
overlay.
saying, now that we've approved this overlay, we're going to put it on this property. Normally, we do it in the same meeting, but we're doing it in 2 different meetings this time around. We also have a public hearing for a proposed amendment to reduce side yard setbacks based on enhanced landscaping. Daniel stepped out, but this is from Paul Washburn, who's an applicant. This is specific to the manufacturing zone, so they want to change that up a little bit. If you have questions, specifics on that, you can ask Daniel about that. We also will have an update to our cemetery ordinance and policy. Dion, do you want to give a brief synopsis of what we're doing there?
Have we had someone with like over 8? Yeah. It's a lot for one plot. Okay.
And we also have a vehicle that will be up for surplus. Just as a reminder, for next week, we will be having an open house for the public to come in and gather information on the ramp, the CARE. Sorry, it was ramp up in Weber County. I was only there 9 years ago. The CARE tax proposal. So that's the Proposition 8 is the number that's been given. It will be on the ballot for Pleasant Grove residents this coming general election. The purpose of the open house is to educate people on what it is, and if it were to pass, some of the projects that are being considered for that money. That's going to be at the Recreation Center in the multipurpose room from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It will be open house style, so we'll have the poster boards up. We'll have information on all the poster boards, but there will not be a time where somebody's going to have a microphone explaining everything. If you remember when we did this with the transportation utility fee back in March or April, really it's just us as staff walking around and council answering questions. So that's going to be the format.
And we'll have information to hand out.
Yeah, so the poster boards will all be there. We'll have some of those printed out in regards to if somebody wants to take that home. Most of the poster boards are going to be pictures of potential projects, but we will have 3 or 4 informational slides that will be talking about what 0.1% on a sales tax is, what that means to a resident, the process to, for the fact that the residents are voting on this, when it would be enacted, how much revenue would it generate, those types of things.
And I'll ask the question since she's not here: will it be put on the website the next day? The information. The information,
yes. And yeah, it will be made available.
No, who would ask that question?
Well, no, and that's a great question. Thank you.
Will the committee be there?
Possibly, I don't know. Okay. We'll send them an email, make sure that they know about it, but whether they can make it or not, I don't know. But if they can, again, we have a focus group that's been part of the planning on this, have been very instrumental, very good, and engaged on this. We've gotten some great feedback from some of our residents on things that they would like to see.
On one poster, are you going to have like 2 Happy Meals and a...
Something like that, yes. I don't know. Next Tuesday. Next Tuesday at the Rec Center. Is a Happy Meal $5?
Not quite. With tax, probably.
I mean, when I eat, I get like 4 at a time, so I don't remember what the price is.
That's $40 for you.
Okay.
4 pennies.
4 pennies.
4 cents.
For the Sherrington family.
I was just talking about for myself, not for my kids.
That's only 2 pennies.
Also on October 23rd, so that'll be our 4th Tuesday, we will have a meeting where the for and against arguments on Proposition 8 will be presented. So this is a public meeting. It's not a city council meeting. It's not a, I mean, it's a city council meeting in the sense that the council opens the meeting, and it will be noticed as a meeting in that manner. But there won't be an open session. There won't be public comment. It is for the arguments for and against that have been written and the rebuttals for those to be read, in essence, on the record. And that's a requirement by state law. Is there anything else, Tina, that I think? Yeah, so we'll do that here in the library. Sherry, will you look at October 23rd as well?
At 6 o'clock?
Yeah, it'll be 6 o'clock.
Scott, are you reading the city's portion?
No. We didn't write it.
Oh, so we're having that.
No,
So it
the
would be
focus group wrote
the
it.
committee.
So they'll be the ones that will be reading it. And that meeting will be fairly short because that's all that will be.
Public
But
comment.
didn't we
There's no public
haven't we
comment.
had public comment time after that in the past? Oh. Just an opinion question.
Kathy, do you know when ballots are going to be mailed? Have you? 16th of October. Cleared? Awesome. We're not going to have to worry about this in about 6 months, but up until then. So just make sure that that's on your calendar so that we can.
So
we
we're
can hold that
every
meeting.
week this month, right now?
Yes.
Okay.
October 30th, no meeting. November 6th is election day. We will not have a meeting that day. November 13th, we will have a city council meeting. So normally the second Tuesday we don't meet, but because we're not meeting on the 6th, we'll meet on the 13th. We'll have a regular council meeting. On the 20th, which is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, normally we cancel that meeting, but we will need to canvass the election that day. Again, that will be a fairly short meeting, but we do need to hold a meeting. And that will, I think in the past we did that one at 5 o'clock and took care of that because that's a fairly quick meeting as well. And then the 27th of November, we don't have a meeting. We have a meeting scheduled for December 4th. And that's all we have for December. If we need to for purposes, sometimes with site plan approvals and things like that we need to have, we might have a December 11th meeting. If we don't have any of that, then December 4th will be our last meeting for the year. So that's the plan. Unless something comes up and we have to schedule a meeting outside of that schedule, we'll do that. But that's our next 3 months right there in a nutshell. So, any questions?
When does BYU play next?
It'll be Friday night against Utah State.
Utah State, okay.
The mayor is a Utah State guy, so.
So what's the next game? Sorry, what's the next game?
After Utah State?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Boise State's a ways away, Eric. I know where you're getting at. November 3rd. Maybe it's November 5th. It's the Thanksgiving weekend. Tickets are pending. Any other football games we need to get on your calendar?
I think I got them all. I don't know when time the meeting is, but. So.
Oh, you gotta go around, sorry.
We gotta go around. Daniel, do you have anything else for us?
No, Mayor.
Marty, I know you probably have, we have some questions for you, Marty, but you
Great.
can go ahead, you can address those.
What questions would you like me to address?
The charter school.
Okay. So Lincoln Academy, we've had many issues out there over the years with regards to traffic flow on 3300 North. When they originally built, there was some concept there that they didn't need to have 3 lanes to be able to get traffic through the area. What happens is the westbound traffic that's coming to turn into the site for drop-off is blocking the travel lane so people can't continue through, and westbound traffic is obviously making either a through movement or a right-hand turn, and therefore there's lots of congestion in that area. I believe it was last March we met with the school, met with the principal out there and kind of talked through some of the options. I believe Chief Smith was with me. And one of the things that we discussed was trying to help them accommodate maybe another option for a pickup drop-off. We have the development of the Warnick property directly across the street that has been approved but phased. And they're currently through 4 phases of 8. And there's been some hiccups there in getting that done. We were working with the developer at that time to accommodate a little bit wider cross-section on that road, which would allow for a lane in each direction, a center turn lane, and then on the south side of the road, an additional pickup drop-off zone. And the concept was it would become a reduced speed zone in that area with a crosswalk in front of the school that would take the kids across the road to the south side of the road, where some of the parents could then also pick up their kids on the coming eastbound rather than just only picking them up through the school. And it's a big, these charter schools have been very difficult because we have very little, I guess, discussion and ability to discuss issues because they're all handled through the state. And so there hasn't been any communication really after that first phase that went in, and they've continued to do a couple of additions past that, which we've had no really requests for a site plan or looking at this. They pretty much just get their approvals from the state and move on to their next phases. And so I think that I've currently the property kind of for the next phases went into default and is currently up for sale, as I understand it, and is being looked at by a couple of developers. And we've talked with one of those developers and kind of explained our goal of trying to get that a little bit wider to be able to accommodate some additional traffic volume there. And I think that looks very promising right now with that developer. If everything went through like was anticipated this coming week, then we should be able to work with them on a site plan that helps accommodate a little bit better traffic flow there. So I don't know that it's going to resolve all the problems. It should help significantly the current problems, but it may not be a perfect, I guess, plan to be able to accommodate all, on-site pickup, drop-off, no parking on the streets, no backup into the streets. It's just not possible on that site to accomplish that with the number of students that they have going there. What we're trying to do is alleviate by providing additional travel lanes and accommodating that, and maybe another pickup drop-off that should greatly be enhanced, and the ability to get traffic flow through there while that's happening is kind of key, because everybody complains about the speeds and getting blocked and they can't get through the area. And so it's not that we've ignored the issue, it's just the cost of what we're talking about here is $100,000+ like these improvements that are going to be put in by the developer, which are required as part of their development. If the city chose to go in and make those enhancements, we're talking about a significant amount of money to be able to widen those roads, to allow for those additional lanes and improvements. And so that's why we've always kind of been hampered, like we're waiting for the developer to get this done. When he gets it done, we're going to be great. Until then, it's going to be painful. And that's kind of where we've been in that hold mode, and we anticipated this thing to happen 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago. And again, it was supposed to happen this summer. We're again being pushed off probably till at least spring, as far as what this next developer, if that goes through, what he's able to do, because he's going to have to go through probably do a new revised phasing plan and then get to work. But so that's kind of where it's at. If there's any other questions, it's not, I mean, we've heard the complaints. We wish there was something to be done. There's nothing short term. There's a ditch there. The ditch would have to be filled in. The road would have to be widened. And it would be a fairly substantial cost, which is all going to be borne by a developer at some point. And that's why we've not ever moved forward on those additional improvements, because it's always been part of this next phase of Muirfield Estates. And so anyways, any questions with regards to that? We've had a request for a 4-way stop at 1450 West, 3300 North. It doesn't warrant it. It just won't meet the warrants. There's too much traffic It has to be balanced in order to have a four-way stop, and there's too much traffic on 33 and very little traffic on 1450, and so you know, there's concerns about that safety. Again, once all of these improvements get installed with this new development, then a lot of these questions just go away because the improvements that are needed are taken care of with the development. So that's where it's at.
Okay. Marty, I just have another question for Marty, a statement. I've got people are knocking on my doors, they're ringing my bell, they're calling my phone. I've got 4 notes that I kind of want to read, and you probably know what this is about, but it's a big deal right now for the residents that live around me. It says, I'm a little terrified right now that the city has taken down the middle stop signs at the intersections of 1300 West and 1100 North and 1100 North and 600 West. I feel it's way too soon. Yesterday I watched a woman blow through that intersection heading east and didn't even slow down. And I've seen that myself. That's my comment there. I don't think the intersection has ever been more dangerous than it is right now. I'm glad that they made these intersections a 4-way stop, but they either need to put the middle signs back up or paint something on the road to draw some people's attention to it. People are they're saying that it's because it's such a wide road that they're not seeing the stop sign. Anyway, here's another person. It seems that the cars on 1100 North coming west, turning onto 600 or 1300 West, think that they don't have to stop to turn right. So that adds to the intersection problem. Even if they don't know, even if they know going straight is a stop, the 3-part stop lines, one for left, one for straight, and one for the right, makes people think that it's okay to turn right without stopping. I personally love the 4-way stop, but I'm super cautious, and I don't think a sign to remind me, and I don't need a sign to remind me again in the middle probs. Anyway, this is just a note. Because I see a lot, I use it a lot and have been waiting for this day for years, but I think it's not in the loop or creature of habit. It's pretty scary at these intersections. I don't want someone killed to learn an important change. Clear lines are necessary in education on the right-hand turns at the stop sign. Here's one more. Can I just say that for people who have been driving down 1100 North frequently for many years and have not had to stop at these intersections, it's scary for them for fear that they will not remember that there's a new stop sign there. The road itself has not changed. The lights around the stop sign off to the side of the road are not easily seen. Having a sign put up in the middle of the road would be a huge help. It takes more than a month to help brain memory. Maybe if the signs were back in the middle for another month, it would help those who were used to driving for years without having to stop. So there's one more, but I've thought a lot about this, how we fix this. The road is fairly narrow, but yet it's wide enough for kind of 3 turn lanes. I think at a minimum we need a restripe with clear lines, maybe even a stop, coming east and west. It's right now it's the #1 thing that people are concerned about for in our neighborhood. I don't know, Mayor, you live on 600.
Todd, what do you mean by restripe?
We got better drivers up on 600 West.
That's probably right. Restripe it meaning just clear lines. Right now the lines have kind of faded, and if we restriped that, with white, and yellow or whatever.
Are you talking stop bars, crosswalks, or are you talking lane lines?
All of them, all of it. Yeah, I think that would help people would realize that there's change. I think right now there's just not enough. It's just we're all creatures of habit, and even myself. Actually, yesterday I was coming east on 1100, turning, and I went up and stopped, like I normally would, to turn left on 1300 West, and realized that I didn't stop back at the line. Just creature of habit. I go up, I wait for that line, that traffic to come through the intersection before I turn left, and then I realized, I don't think I stopped at the stop sign. So it's a good thing that Chief wasn't there. No, that's good. I mean, I think we need more. I think we need patrol just to educate, to help educate. But I think at minimum a restripe, and else we think ought to help. Public safety. I mean, this is just really a public safety issue.
Yeah, and my recollection is when the guys went out and set up these 4 ways that they did paint all of the crosswalks and they did repaint all of the stop lines. And I'm not sure if they got them.
Well, what they did is
because there were no stop bars on 11th, so they had to paint them when we put them up. There was a crosswalk.
So I don't think any new paint has been applied. There was new paint applied on 1300 West going north, but it's a little hinky. I mean, it's as you go, it looks like what they did is they kind of just put a little straight through symbol on there. Take a look. You'll have to take a look at it, but it just isn't. It doesn't look like a brand new intersection, and that's probably what it should look like. Is a brand new intersection that is, oh, something's changed. I need to, be aware here. I think that's
I think I would, and not saying that we can't go in and refresh striping. We're going to be doing that anyways with some other roads, and so we could definitely have a more professional job done. We're doing it with our little striper here, not with the truck that can drive straight lines, right? And so we've done, I think, a fair job there. I don't know that it's going to solve your concern, other than it will enhance, right? If we can redo the stop bar, redo the crosswalks, but the concern isn't on 13th West, it's on 11th North, right? And so that's where the issue is. And I think as far as getting people in the right lanes, as we looked at that, it really narrows up those lanes just because of where everything was currently at. As far as getting proper 10-foot wide lanes so that we could get the right-hand turn, the through, the left-hand turn, and those things. I'll definitely go look at it. One other option we've talked about is maybe adding a couple of bars in front of the stop. It's not per code, well, it's not necessarily against code, it's just not recommended, right, as far as this is what you have to do at all stop signs. And what I don't want to encourage is that everybody says, well, come do that at my stop sign too. Maybe this is just a one-off that we try to enhance that stop sign, and I think we can definitely do that. Essentially, you have your stop bar, and then you have either stop ahead painted in the road, which I think we could do fairly easily, and then some additional just kind of narrowing lines back from the stop bar that kind of enhance that there's some pavement markings there, which is, I've seen before, it's been done. I don't think it's anything out of line that would cause a concern. I was interested to know, I guess, if on the crash data, if you've seen any crashes. I think from my experience, and again, I travel these, I live right there too, as you know, and I travel them every day. And yes, I proceed with caution. If I see somebody is clearly going, and I just go through it and just make sure that I'm looking. However, I do feel like the congestion has been greatly relieved through that under our peak hours for sure. Agreed. And I think that my wife, myself, anybody that goes through that intersection feels about 10,000 times safer than shooting the gaps between all that fast speed traffic.
Everyone I've talked to loves the four-way stop. They love it. It's just, which is maybe good, but if we can just help educate, restripe, I think it would add to the.
And we did have, we had those stops there that were just temporary in the middle. We think one of them maybe got hit because it ended up going missing. It either got stolen or hit, but it was gone just before, like the weekend before we were going to pick them up. Actually, we were supposed to pick them up on Friday, and they didn't get picked up till Monday, and it was gone over the weekend. So anyway, so we lost one sign, but we got to be careful with that too, because it did really create. There isn't enough room there really to have those there, but it does help.
I think a restripe is probably the best answer there.
Okay, we can look at that as far as try to help it a little bit. We put up the signs to make sure that, hey, people, there's two signs now, one that says stop ahead, one that says stop, but maybe some pavement markings. Again, it's just the nature of the beast. You have something that everybody's been doing this for years and years and years and years, and then you make a change, and for a little bit of time, it's going to be a little painful until people get used to it, and then I think it'll all settle down, and people will be there. So.
Okay. Well, and I think some people that have been using that intersection are new to it because of the construction on First. So I think people are right now in Pleasant Grove, traffic patterns are different because of
First East construction.
That's true.
So. It will decrease the who's traveling in that through those intersections as well when First East opens back up, I'm sure. Chief Roberts, did you?
Yeah, I ran the stats on those two intersections, and since the four-way stop signs have been up, we've had one accident on 600 West 1100 North and one accident on 1300 West 1100 North. In the last 2 years, we've had 7 accidents at 600 West 1100 North and 6 at 1300 West 1100 North. So, I've had a guy up there in a subdued car for over an hour 3 different times, and I don't know if it's time subdued. It's the black car that you can barely see the markings on. And I don't know if it's time of day we're missing or something. We're just not seeing a huge problem. They've made some traffic stops and educated people, but maybe it's if you can pin down a time of day, we're happy to go try to do that. We'll keep on it. We'll keep on them and see if we can educate them.
Thanks, Chief.
So what time do you go to work so we can kind of...
Watch out for the subdued guy.
Yeah.
Just the car is subdued.
Oh.
All right.
What
Thanks,
officer
Marty.
is that? That's the one I want to pull me over.
So Marty, do you have anything else for us?
Just maybe a quick update on, First East. They're planning, at least based on last week's meeting, I think it was closer in the next 2 weeks, they should have everything from 2200 North to State Street, all at the full final elevation. On the final pave, the final lift will be placed. They'll come back in and do the restriping. People have been concerned about junior high striping and all that. All that should be taken care of with that final lift down there. They can get all the manholes to grade with that so that they don't have to do that weird striping there. And then everything between, north of that, still going well. They're trying to get everything up to 2600 North done, which should be finished, I think, this week. And then they'll be working on the realignment. And then we've got the new sewer line that's going north of 2600 North that they'll be starting on, I think, in a week or two. And so there's still going to be congestion up through there. And I think they're trying to get things through the middle of November. There's been a lot of things that have come up in this size of a project, and I think they're going to get as far as they can. That'll make it accessible, especially for the winter. They'll be back in the spring to finish up some of the, they hope to have all the paving done, but they'll be working on side stuff, behind the curb stuff this winter, and then they'll come back and do a final micro surface on the entire surface, restripe it, finish everything up, and that'll all happen probably in the spring. So very busy project, and we've had lots of fun trying to deal with it all. We've got on the signals, just to kind of give you a heads up, we've worked with the state. The state has a 90-day waiting period to get equipment. We buy equipment for signals from the state. We can do it on our own through another contractor, but typically you'll purchase that through the state purchasing. And it's 90 days out, so we've ordered that, but it's going to be probably till January for the 220 South and the 550 South, and then we're going to have to play with weather. So it may be something that we may not get those signals in until about March. But we are moving forward. The plans, I've got the final plans on my desk, the advertisements, getting ready to go, and we're just trying to figure out when we're going to put that out a bid. So just kind of a heads up on that. Everything's moving forward, and we'll be proceeding on that shortly too. So
I guess they'll get First East paved to the east of us here as soon as we get our curb in at the public safety building.
Yeah, and Kilgore has agreed to do that curb for us.
Oh, have they?
Is it still not? Is it still? I haven't seen it in the last week, but they didn't get the curb in there. So
I see they got their string. Looks like they're ready to put their string line up, so they must be coming in and hitting that when they do some of the other curb that they're ready for up there.
I know they're trying to get it paved, and they need probably 5 to 7 days of cure on that concrete. So I would expect maybe this week that they'll have that done, and then they'll be paving in the next week and a half, 2 weeks.
After the rains.
Yeah, that always hampers things too. So, but yeah, things are going well with all the construction and moving along.
Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Sorry, Mayor, I missed my.
No, we can't go back to you. You've already missed your. No, go ahead, Daniel.
So that's a good lesson I learned from today. Now, last meeting I couldn't show up, but the rap sheet I uploaded it, so it's there. It's the most recent one. It's online on the web page. I know we have some Taki Taki and Iceberg fans, so before the meeting I called the architect, and the plans is like they're hoping to finish the site plan in 2018, but they're not going to start construction of that until next year, 2018.
Can you find out what Taki Taki is?
Sushi. Isn't it?
Hawaiian.
Oh, it's Hawaiian?
Hawaiian, yes. Hawaiian.
So it's a competitor to Mo Betta's?
And Taki Taki?
We'll have to try it. And I have to try it. And I hope everyone enjoyed the ribbon cut. I said ribbon cutting. The ribbon cutting at Evermore. I think it was a really cool experience.
When are the subdued plans for Iceberg going to come forward?
When what?
Subdued plans for Iceberg. This is for Todd.
Oh, in 2008 next year.
Next year, yeah. We can put a sign right there, like coming soon 2019 Iceberg, something like that. And hopefully everyone enjoy Evermore. I think it's a cool project. They still have some ways to go, but staff and them, we work together on trying to at least open an area of the park that was safe and enjoyable for everyone. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks, Daniel.
Ina, do you have, Marty?
One more thing, we do have an engineer starting next Tuesday.
Oh.
Thank goodness. So,
great.
Anyways, we've been down a guy for the last 3 months, and finally got someone starting next Tuesday.
He does have a pulse then.
He does, yeah.
Good.
Pretty qualified. Yeah, his name's Aaron Spencer, and coming from Horrocks. Yeah, he's got 10 years. He's been a PE for about 10 years, so some good experience. We're looking forward to having somebody that can take some work.
We'll have to talk to you later how you pulled that off. So anyway.
And a building official on Friday.
We'll need to get on the agenda to bring some of our new employees in and introduce them to you probably in November.
If he passes his criminal background check, is that correct? Okay. Oh yeah, that's the other thing too, I guess. Tina, do you have anything else for us? Scott, do you have anything?
I just want to express appreciation for the staff of Pleasant Grove, for the department heads, for the great work that's been going on. Daniel Cardenas is almost a resident of Evermore, with as much as he's been over there. We have been very accommodating as a city to do. Daniel's been there on Friday nights late, Saturdays late, because there are certain aspects of the park they want to get open, and so instead of just saying, "Hey, I'm not working today," he's made the trip from Provo to where he lives to come and accommodate. Provo or Orem? Vineyard. Sorry.
About time he moved
Okay, he's
here.
not coming that far. It's just Vineyard. They're just coming.
Let's find this boy a house.
But obviously, there's just a lot of great things happening in our community right now, development-wise, with the building and all these things. And I just, in my position as the city administrator, just have moments of just feeling grateful for the people that we have working on these things. I feel like we do a good job. I did forget to mention on October 23rd, we are going to have a short meeting on the for and against arguments, but we will also plan that night to have our police chief interviews with the city council and the mayor. So that will not be a short meeting for you. Depending on how many we do interview, we're going to be here probably an hour each and maybe 3 or 4 people. So we could be here till 10 o'clock or so. Yes, and we can accommodate that. But please, on your schedule, and I don't know if anybody has a scheduling conflict with that, you can let me know. But that's our intent, because we do have myself and the mayor and Eric and Tina are doing the first round of those interviews that we did today. We have another interview next Tuesday, and then we'll narrow that list down. But the next step will be to get them in front of the full city council and the mayor for the next round of interviews. So October 23rd. Thank you.
Denise. That's good. That's positive.
Yeah, that's been great. In the audit.
A lot of good fun stuff with that. Sherry.
You probably noticed our decor changed in our entry and other areas. We had a Harry Potter party, which I told you about before, but we got between 850 and 900 people to it over a 3-hour period. And it was fun. We had all sorts of things going on all over the building and outside too. And I'll probably do a little slideshow of it for you in a couple of weeks or a month. I don't know, whenever we have time. And also Veterans Day is coming up, just a reminder. And if you have any great speaker names for me, please pass them along.
Veterans Day is actually on the 11th is a Sunday, right? So
right,
we
so it'll
will
be the
observe
Monday.
this on the Monday, on the 12th.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Chief, thank you for our tour today. It's going to be a great facility. Okay. Chief? Nothing? Anything from the parks, Dion? Okay. Well, let's start down on this end here.
I do have a question. So Dion, on the burial plots and that woman, are you handling that, or is there anything else I need to be doing?
Oh, it's
with
resolved.
that woman? It's
resolved. The one where she was saying that her
5 years.
Yeah, it's been resolved.
When was that, like?
Anna took care of it at the beginning of the.
Has anybody communicated with her?
Yes.
We got it all resolved. Did she talk to you today?
Well, I'm thinking she called me yesterday.
Oh. I will double check with Anna. Anna actually found the correct heir, and I know she's communicated with the correct heir to those plots. I don't know if she's communicated with that person.
Let me know if I need to communicate with her. And I did have the president beg for Utopia.
Yeah. Would be a heck. That would be a heck no, and that's nice.
As long as you educate it correctly.
I am just communicating that there was. Anyway,
for the residents, it's good. It's just terrible for the city.
I do want to do a shout out. Thank you. I don't know what to call Mike Roberts.
Chief
Roberts.
Oh, that's interim.
Chief Roberts.
Yeah.
Just Chief Roberts,
I
not
was just
intern,
call
just
him
Chief.
Mike. But thank you for communicating with us about what was happening at the high school. I appreciate that, because literally seconds after I read that email, the phones started coming in, the emails, and my communication back to the residents was it was probably the safest day to send your children to school. But I appreciate very much being caught up on that. That meant a lot to me. And I also was very impressed with how that was handled, so thank you with that. And
I'd like to turn my time over to the Planning Commission. We have a member here. We'd like to hear from them. If we never get to really say 10, we'd like to hear from them.
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Planning Commission. Thank you for all you're doing.
Yep.
By the way, we love it, knowing that you're deliberating completely, and a lot when Daniel says and Planning Commission says this.
He always informs us of that.
I have no further comments.
You. Lynn, do you have anything? Kathy, anything? Okay. I just have one thing to add. Last week I spent the week in Laguna Beach, and I talked my wife into letting me go to city council meeting down there.
No!
Oh boy. What's
Wow.
their budget, Mayor?
Well, they don't meet on the beach. Their city hall is the downtown, and the only way I got that pulled off was that she could go shopping, and then she was able to figure out which restaurant we were going to dinner after I got through. But I was only allowed 45 minutes at city council meeting. And you know what? That was better than shopping. Okay, that's okay. So anyway.
How?
Did you introduce yourself?
You know, I didn't. It was a little bit of a hot night there. So anyway, I decided, you know, I just won't. I was just going to. They have 8 people running for 2 council positions. They're a 5-member council, and they appoint their mayor and the pro tem out of that each year, whatever. So it's interesting. I've watched that over the years a little bit there. So it's kind of some hot issues. They do have one item on there besides all the propositions going on in California. Oh my heavens, it's just. But in Laguna Beach, they want to add. They have a proposition to add 1 cent to their sales tax for lowering undergrounding power lines. Continuing that. So. And there's some people who's not very happy about that, but you know that's what they want to do, and we'll see if that big jump. So that would put them. I think they're just about 8 cents now, so that'd be just south of 9%. So I looked, and I can't remember. Yeah, go ahead. That's big, but there are about 21,000 people in Laguna Beach, and they spend about 3.6 on their roads. They have a lot less roads than we do. They have a lot better. And their main road that goes through Laguna Beach is Pacific Coast Highway, which is a state highway. So and so anyway, but I looked up their thing there, and their number 1 revenue source is their property taxes. And their medium house is $1.8 million. So you can imagine what the property taxes are. Their number 2 resource is their transit tax, their room tax, and number 3 is sales tax. And with a budget of general budget of $62 million. 21,000.
To wrap your head around that one.
So we are not Laguna Beach, and we're glad we're not. But anyway, it's a nice place to go for a week. But anyway, so
wow.
So that was my experience, and their city councils are pretty laid back a little bit. So they're a little bit. So it's what you'd expect from a beach community. Yeah.
Flip flops.
So anyway, that's all I have. So if anyone else doesn't have anything else this evening, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, make a motion to adjourn.
Who seconded it? Lynn did. Lynn seconded it. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Even the planning commission seconded that.
Any opposed? Okay.
Hey, I'm going to run to the junior high choir concert.
You got your massage?
No, choir concert. Junior high choir concert. So I'm going to run.
Okay. Week from Saturday on the 13th. Sit at our table. Yes, Lynn.
I already told my table that